I came across the story and something of, about the satanic rituals and stuff like that. And while I'm not an adamant pusher of the conspiracy theory, I nevertheless don't deny that there are many facts when it comes to conspiracy theories. I wouldn't even call them theories anymore. They're more like conspiracy facts. There are many things where that are of reality that we've come across, we've experienced, we're familiar with. What I am against is that we start looking at everything with the eye of the conspiracy theorists. I don't see I don't have to interpret every matter as part of the conspiracy theory, but I don't deny the fact that there are some evil things out there that are done in a synchronized manner. They're done intentionally. They're done with purpose, and they are of evil nature, and that's a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? So I was just watching a documentary about the feedback from the people that were in the actual concert, and they're describing these are kuffar. Obviously, they're describing that it was, to them, it was hell on earth. Like the fact that they couldn't breathe. People were so scrambled over each other. They're so jammed. People can't move. People can't breathe. And while people are screaming and calling for help and making, they're screaming, stop the show, stop the show. This criminal did not even care at all. All while behind him, there's a flying, a phoenix with fire coming out of it. All of these satanic symbols all over the place. And he's just going on with the show, more so like a sacrifice. And the people are dying, and people are pronounced dead on the scene, and the show continued for X amount of time afterwards. Even the police department were criticizing, like, how could you? And subhanAllah, you can't help but think a couple of things. Number one, the first thing that comes to mind is what choices people are making for themselves. I mean, think about it. Of course, we feel very sad and sorry for those who passed away. But at the same time, these reflect the poor decision making that the humans are involved in. And going into a concert of this nature, of any type where there's music, is really throwing yourself into destruction. You know what I'm saying? I understand that many Muslims struggle with not listening to music. I know it's a serious struggle, especially those who were raised. I think most of us, unless you were really raised in an Islamic manner from young age, if you're like a revert, or if you're a person who started practicing at some point in your life, no doubt music was part and parcel of your life. If you were not producing music, you were consuming music. So I understand the struggle that a person has with overcoming music and letting it go and not listening to it anymore. Okay, that's one thing. That's one struggle. But it's a whole nother thing that you publicly go out to a concert. I'm speaking to the Muslims now. You're going out to a concert, being part of the organization, part of the process, part of the evil, and allow yourself to be in a situation like this where you're vulnerable and you're exposed. And look at the description that the people gave to such an evil event, where the curse of Allah Azza wa Jal is descending upon the people in a situation like this. They're involved in all types of evil. Some of the people may be oblivious. Some of them may not know any better. But nevertheless, it's the choices of life. It's the choice to disbelieve in God, to disobey God, to be negligent about resurrection, negligent about accountability, negligent about the true religion of God, negligent about following the prophets and the messengers. All of these accumulate to lead a person astray and deviate and make him deviate from the path that is pleasing to Allah. And therefore, they wind up making these poor decisions. And those decisions impact their lives in a negative way, big time. And that's the first reflection. The second reflection is, subhanAllah, you think about Yawmul Qiyaamah and the resurrection and the gathering of people being, just look at how difficult this was. Unbelievably difficult it was for the people to cope with just being, like they're being bear hugged, as one of them said, you're being bear hugged from the back. You can't move. You're unable to move. You want to escape from the gathering, from the stampede. People are being stepped on and walked on and jumped on, and you want to just exit so you can just breathe. You're calling for help and there's absolutely nowhere you can go. It's the most helpless feeling you could imagine on a worldly scale. Multiply that by Allah knows how much when it comes to the day of resurrection. And we have it here that people will be they're not just tired and fatigued, and the sun is a mile away from their head, and they're naked, and they're drowning in their own sweat. They will be drowning in their own sweat, some of them to the point where they will be bridled. So like when you're at the surface of the water and you're unable to really float, you're not really floating, but the water constantly is going into your mouth, so you're struggling in the water. Imagine that being in your own sweat for 50,000 years. I mean, those people were there for an hour, a couple of hours, and it was so devastating that some of them died. For those who didn't die, they're traumatized. They are traumatized for life. And I could almost promise you that 80% of these people will never go to a concert again, just because you don't want to be in a situation again. It's something that you can't control. Reflect on that. That's life. That's reality. Those are real events. So just beware of what's going on out there, and protect yourself. But don't become a conspiracy theorist burnout, where everything you look at, you try to interpret it in this manner. Please. Like, you can't even do anything innocently. It turns out that I've given almost every sign of the Illuminati without knowing, wallahi, without even knowing. Every sign. I've had someone even comment. Even when we were talking the niqab, we sort of said the niqab, some of the scholars allow, they block one eye and they only allow one eye. This turned out to be also the one eye of the Illuminati. Ya Sheikh, give me a break. So if you start thinking like this, I'm telling you, you'll be sick. You will not see anything the same anymore. You could look at a carton of milk and say, aha, look at that floating eye right over there. Look at that sign. Look, Ya Sheikh, calm down. You'll become sick. So be reasonable. A Muslim is reasonable and logical and moderate. Don't ever go to extreme. Don't dismiss things just because they don't make sense to you. And don't become a fanatic of any particular idea or ideology lest you go astray.